So I'm excited because I have a friend to talk to tonight. How are you?
Good, good. How are you? I'm very happy to be here.
I'm very happy to have you. Please introduce yourself to our group.
Absolutely. My name is Eloy Javier Delgado. I'm a public school teacher from Elizabeth, New Jersey, work in Linden, and I'm running for Congress in the 8th Congressional District here in New Jersey as a strong progressive Democrat.
Awesome. So you go from herding kids, herding kids at school to herding cats in Congress. Like how? What? Just like let's just start with the how for a little bit. What motivated you to go from teaching to Congress?
Listen, this honestly, I got tired of just yelling at my TV screen about certain issues. I got tired of being frustrated in the classroom, seeing as teachers we don't have a voice in policy. We just have to, we're mules. We got to take out the policy. We got to just, we just got to follow orders and they don't listen to our voices. I'm tired of the poverty that exists in my community in the same neighborhoods that it existed when I was a kid, that it existed when 20
Yeah.
years before I was a kid. Like, we've been dealing with the same issues time and time again. I'm tired that at the local level, we are, you're from Jersey, so you probably know about this. Our
I'm not.
local,
I lived in Jersey. I'm not gonna play. I lived in Jersey for a year, but I was so excited because I know where you're at though, because my stepfather's from there. My
okay.
sister graduated from East Side High in Patterson, so like I know the area. So I was like, oh yeah, this is almost like home. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Absolutely. You know, local elections here tend to be very nasty. They tend to get very
Mm,
personal. And we're not talking about income inequality. We're not talking about the persistent systemic poverty that exists in our communities and have existed in our urban centers for a very long time. Now, in my district, you are seeing a lot of new people move in, and that's great,
mm,
and I'm not, no disrespect to anyone moving in, like we welcome you, absolutely. However, we also need to pay attention that that's also displacing certain people that have been there for generations, and
yes.
we need to have federal policies that uplift all our residents, our current residents, while still accepting newcomers. But we need to not forget the residents that are there, that have been there and have been wiped out because of NAFTA, free trade, wiped out because they never had access to the American dream because of racism, poverty, and whether they were black, Latino, or whatever it may be.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
what motivated me, I got so frustrated, and I was paying attention to the presidential thing, but I'm not. When Hillary first announced, it was like, oh, okay, I see where this is going. She'll be the nominee. It is what it is. All right. I mean, whatever. I'll just go. It'll be the same little changes we've been getting, sort of on the left for how many, like you said, 40, 50 years now.
Hmm.
Then this guy named Bernie Sanders appears out of nowhere. Like, I knew of him and I knew what he stood for, sort of, but I never looked into him that much. And then I looked into him. Then I looked
Right.
at the videos from 20 years ago, 30 years ago. He's talking about the poor. He's talking about gay rights before it was even like a thing to do. Like,
Exactly.
his consistency was just really inspired me, and the type of, if I'm elected, if I have the honor of getting the Democratic nomination and going on to November and then being elected, then I don't want to be a politician. I want to be a public servant, and that's what I think he has been, a public servant. Like, right now, I serve my students, I serve the taxpayers of that community that I work in, and that's the same mindset I want to have in public office, is I'm here to serve, not to be served, not to have a fancy title. And now I'm going to get on another tangent. In politics,
No, go ahead.
in politics, there is an inherent classist system set up. If you don't have the name, come from a family with the name, if you don't have the means to, like, for example, quit your job or have a spouse that has means to support you while you do what you got to do and serve, that's why we don't have middle class individuals going for public positions, which means by design we're not represented. The working
Hmm.
poor are not represented. I mean, when's the last time a poor cat ran for anything?
Truth.
And it was just not, I mean, I'm 27 now. It was just a few years ago. When did I buy my home? 23, 24, that I lived in public housing. Like
Okay.
I lived in public housing my entire life. So that's something that's
Mhm.
very personal for me. The
Okay.
first event that I did in this campaign was at my old neighborhood because it's just, I have family still there.
Nice.
I
Nice.
have not forgotten them. I have not forgotten those residents. And, a lot of the people there, a lot of them have mental illnesses and
Okay.
they get vilified. The way we treat the poor in our country is just not right. And I want to be a voice for them. Yeah, they're not the donors. They're not the donor class.
Right.
But for the last how many years, the Democratic Party used to be such a fierce party for the working middle class, for the poor, and something happened. Unfortunately, I want to say it was
Mhm.
probably Ronald Reagan. That he took the country completely. He was very effective changing the conversation of the country, and the
Mhm.
left, or I would say the Democratic Party, followed him that way. And then one of my frustrations with the party as is at the federal level is that Republicans will go hard for anything they want. They don't
Mhm.
compromise. What's compromise to them? They just go hard, they sell it, and they don't care. Democrats, we compromise with ourselves. Oh, the right's not going to accept it. So let's not go so hard. Let's just do this private insurance thing, for example, instead of pushing for Medicare for all, instead of pushing for a public option. Let's compromise with ourselves before we even get to the compromising table. There's,
Right.
it's one thing to compromise. It's another thing to compromise with yourself before you even get to the table. I mean, what's that
Mhm.
about?